Hello everyone, welcome back to the Mid9M channel. If you're enjoying our videos, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and don't forget to share our content with your friends. Your support makes all the difference. Story 1. The hallway was dark, just like all the other hallways she had staggered down. Unreasoning fear filled her mind as she ran. Gasping and crying, she leaned against the wall, trying to remember which way she had come from. But the truth was, her flight had been so frantic that she had lost sense of direction long ago. For all she knew, she had been running through the same few hallways in a gigantic circle. The sound of metal scraping behind her rendered her panicked flight. Her hands grasped the smooth walls, trying to find something, anything, that would guide her, or at the very least that she could rip off to use as a weapon. But there was nothing. In fact, the only thing she felt occasionally was nothing when another hallway branched off from the one she was in. Finally, she ran full tilt into a wall. She would have seen spots in front of her eyes, she supposed, if it wasn't so dark. She turned, ready to run back the way she had come. But the metallic scraping was close now, and she knew her escape was cut off. Why she screamed into the blackness. Because a voice whispered back, "Because we are destined to be together forever." Fear forgotten and rage replacing it, she dashed forward, shoulder down, determined not to die crying in the corner. Her shoulder connected with her assailant, and they fell in a tumble. But even as they did, her hands clawed and slashing around her. She felt something sharp dig into her chest, once, twice, 3 times. Shuddering, she closed her eyes, feeling something blacker than the darkness envelop her, a sense of relief filling her. At least it was over. She woke with a start and a hand on her chest. She shook her head slowly. A bad dream of some sort? She couldn't remember, and the details were fading. Looking around, she saw stairs leading into darkness next to her. As she stood up to look down them, she heard the sound of something metal being scraped on the hall behind her. Unreasoning fear filling her mind, she plunged into the blackness below, the smooth walls her only guide. Story 2. In a private terminal at the port of Boston, there is a houseboat. This houseboat has been anchored there, permanently, for at least 50 years. The eccentric owner has maintained all fees and taxes and is in good standing with the Port Authority. Still, even if the owner wasn't financially responsible, no one would ask them to depart. Despite the owner's friendly, hospitable, if odd nature, there is a persistent air of unease around, and the area of the port surrounding. Very few people have taken the owner up on offers of hospitality, but those who do recount a wholly unbelievable tale when you step into the houseboat. It's as if you're sent backward 50 years in time. Looking out windows depicts a cityscape of antiquity, and the television receives live broadcasts of programs of the era, including news programs. If you look out the open door, you see the city as it stands today. When the door closes, you can see the 50-year-old skyline through the port opening. Some visitors who spend time with the owner notice something particularly disturbing, an almost uncanny resemblance to their host, despite obvious age differences. Though this is odd, the owner is friendly and trustworthy, ignoring the air of unease most feel, so it isn't surprising if casual friendships build between a guest and the proprietor. All this would, of course, be very strange and worthy of note, but dismissed as some form of elaborate hoax or illusion, if it weren't for one additional detail. Whenever someone elects to spend the night in this houseboat after an evening of conversation and a few drinks, they are never heard from again. When the guest awakens in the morning, the owner is nowhere to be found, and suddenly, the city skyline never changes back to its contemporary appearance. When under the bed there is a briefcase full of $100 bills with a letter stapled to a list. The letter simply reads, "You have 50 years to follow these instructions if you wish to free yourself from this hell. The clock is ticking. Get to work." Story 3. I froze. My feet became glued to the frost-covered ground. My chest tightened in fear and anxiety. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, my pulse could be felt in my fingertips. The sound of my blood rushing in my ears drowned out every other sound. It was so loud I could hear nothing else. I willed myself to calm. With great effort, began to slow my breathing, in through the nose, out through the mouth. While it still came in shallow bursts, but it was easier now, and my burning lungs began to no longer reject the cool autumn air. The crack of a stick broke me out of my attempt of calm. My pulse began to race again as the fear and adrenaline began to spike. I pushed my stiff legs back into movement. Don't stop, I screamed internally. If I stopped, I would be done. I would die. I ran deeper into the forest, surrounding myself with the burning reds and oranges. The trees appeared to be on fire in the pre-sunset light. I could hear his footsteps begin to pick up speed. Mine began to slow in response. No, this could not be happening, not when I was so close to escaping fate. If I don't keep going, nothing would save me. Push, I screamed at myself. As his footsteps become louder, I pick up speed in response. I hear him even more clearly. He must be close. I stop and hide behind a large, gnarled oak tree, my back pressed into the gritty bark. I tried to cover myself behind the changing leaves of a partially broken branch. I hear him come to a stop, and I stifle the sound of my breathing. He is so close. Then I see him come around the side of the tree, walking to the clearing. His face was flushed and primal, and his breath was as heavy as mine. How did such a portly man give such a chase in this multed terrain? He was so close to my hiding spot, I can feel his rancid breath. I pounced on him, grabbing him. Finally, I slit his throat and removed his tracking device. Then I smiled. I was safe. No one would know about me. I began to hum as I headed home to my cottage in the woods. I loved the thrill of the hunt. Story 4. You were out of town for the weekend. When you came back to your apartment, your mailbox was stuffed full. At least 30 letters. Letters with no return address. Several of them felt soggy and heavy, as though they were recently wet, or perhaps contained a liquid. All of the letters have your name and address written on them, and many of them had your name scratched all over them and read in. They don't smell nice, they smell like rotting meat and old garbage, and you're reluctant to take them back to your room. But curiosity gets the better of you. You manage to cart them all back to your room. You dump them in your kitchenette sink because you don't want them smelling up the rest of the apartment. You grab one that doesn't seem damp and isn't covered with writing and open it up. There's pictures inside. Pictures of people you don't know, with their eyes torn out, teeth missing, unhinged jaws hanging open, throats ripped out. You're horrified, and yet you can't help but wonder what's in the rest of the letters. You open more and more to discover increasingly gruesome photos of dead people. Piles of bodies with limbs missing, splayed open corpses on operating tables with their vital organs removed, hanged bodies that have been gutted and bled dry. Some of the soggy letters had blood and other fluids in them. The more letters you open, the more you notice that not all of the people are strangers. Some of them were people you see at work, others people you went to high school with. By the time you get to the last few letters, the pictures are of the mutilated bodies of your close friends and family members. Eventually you reach the last letter. You don't want to know what's in it, but it's not like you have a choice now. You peel the letter open, and it's a picture of yourself. Not dead, eyes intact, no limbs missing. It's a picture of you entering your apartment building earlier that day, shortly before you collected your disgusting letters. As you hear a door elsewhere in your apartment open, you black out. Story 5. Okay, now it's your turn, Chloe cheered loudly. SSS. You're going to wake up your mom, said Chrissy. Oops, sorry, teehee. So truth or dare? Truth. Chrissy seemed to be hesitating, but Chloe couldn't have it. Why truth? That's boring. You never pick dare. Chicken. But I ... chicken. Chicken. Chloe crossed her arms and turned away. Fine. Dare then. What do you want me to do? I want you to go to my mother's room, flicker the lights, and slam the bedroom door shut. Chloe pointed towards the door in the hallway, right next to Chloe's bedroom, facing the stairs, just to scare my mother, because she forbade us to talk so late at night. Are you sure? Asked Chrissy. Won't I get caught? Maybe she'll find out we've been up all this time. Maybe she'll get mad and maybe I won't be able to come over anymore. Why, of course not, silly. She'll probably blame me anyways. Now go for it, go. Chrissy went into the hallway, and as Chloe said, she flickered the lights, closed the bedroom door with a loud slam, enjoying the sound of her mother's loud gasp, and returned to Chloe's bedroom, closing the door behind her. They giggled together about what Chrissy just did. The giggling stopped when Chloe's mother had found her way to the hallway, stomping towards Chloe's room frustrated. Chloe quickly gathered the Ouija board, candles, books, and other micmac, threw it in a corner, jumped in her bed, and pretended to be asleep. Her mother opened the door, about to say something, but didn't. She sighed, stood there for a second, then closed the door again. She retrieved to her bedroom, went back to sleep, keeping the lights on and the door closed this time. After a few minutes, Chloe crawled out of bed quietly, grabbed the Ouija board, and searched the ground for the playing chart. She then sat down in the middle of the room again, lighting 4 candles and spelling out the words that was a close call on the Ouija board.